Welcome to SikhCast, brought to you by Sikh Research Institute, illuminating every path.
This episode of the SikhCast is from a live conference titled Guru Teghbahadar Sahib, the Benevolent Warrior, that originally took place on Saturday, March 27th, 2021. Follow Inni Kaur as she shares her learnings from the three Shabads of Guru Teghbahadar Sahib to explore such constructs as fear and self-actualization.
I'd like to give a very warm welcome to our next speaker, Inni Kaur ji. Your title of your talk is Guru Teghbahadar Sahib, Voice, O Mind, Transcend. And in the write-up, you also mentioned Bhai Vir Singh ji. Can you speak a little bit about the connection of Bhai Vir Singh to Guru Teghbahadar Sahib ji?
Oh, well, Fateh to everyone, and to Jasjit, thank you for this very, very warm introduction. But the connection between Bhai Vir Singh ji and Guru Teghbahadar Sahib, I can't speak to that. But what I can speak to is Bhai Vir Singh's connection to me, or my connection to him. And I refer to him as Pitaji. So he is the one who actually has taken me from crayons to perfume in my Sikhi journey. You know, someone who has held me and made me see, give me glimpses of the Guru. And therefore, when we organized this conference and it was going on Guru Teghbahadar Sahib, my first thing was, what has Pitaji written on it? Because that's my source for my understanding. I am not at the place, and I'm not a researcher to go right to the Guru Granth Sahib, to the Bani itself. I need someone to show me the way, to say, what is it and who? And so the person who I revere, the person who I have said that this is the being who is walking with me in this journey, as Professor Puran Singh is, and as another individual is, that these are the three beings that I want to take guidance from as I delve into the three Shabads of Pacha. So that's the Bhai Vir Singh ji connection. That is my Pitaji's connection. And I spoke, when in 2019 we had the conference on Guru Nanak Sahib ji, and it was the same thing. It was through Pitaji that I did my presentation. So this was, for me, very natural.
And I think the connection shows us the same way as the Guru, because what you mentioned to me while you were mentioning it was Bhai Vir Singh ji was a guide.
Yeah.
He was, and whether you look at the word guide or mentor, but it's the lesson of the individual that serves as a guide for you. In that same way that we look forward to having the Guru Teghbahadar Sahib as our guide to who's going to hold us and then also bless us. So we really look forward to hearing from you and about the Vars, the Shabads of Guru Teghbahadar Sahib. So take it from here.
So, I titled this Guru Teghbahadar Sahib Voices, O Mind, Transcend. And so the idea is about the mind, and we've been speaking about that throughout this conference. Particularly the last two speakers have talked about, Jasleen Kaur and Surendra have talked about the mind, or what is it? So why is the mind so important? And I want to spend a little bit of time to understand why in Bani the mind is invoked. I mean, 90% of the Shabads in Bani are directed towards the mind. So let's understand this mind. The mind is the integral part of consciousness. It is vaster than time and space. It is the highest faculty of the human being. And this mind, our mind, is enticed so easily by the gifts that it has forgotten the giver. It has forgotten the source. And this forgetfulness has led the mind astray, has led our mind astray. And therefore, we are unable to recognize its divinity, its origin, and therefore unable to realize our true potential. So in Anand Sahib, the third Pacha says, "E man meria tu sada rohar nale." Oh my mind, forever stay with me, with her, right? The divine. So what does that mean? How can the mind forever stay with that divinity? And, Jasleen Kaur also mentioned, every moment you be thinking about, but the mind does need to stay with the her. It needs to be trained. You cannot do this without training. And when the mind is trained, when the conscious effort is made to train the mind, to inculcate virtues, which virtues? The divine virtues of goodness, of kindness, of compassion. And when we inculcate those, there's an awareness that enters. And that awareness brings a stillness. And when that happens, one experiences the riches of the universe, actually the ethers, everything one experiences. I mean, the Guru says, those who win their mind win the world. Man jeete Jasjit, right? So by winning your own mind, you win the entire world. So that this mind can be our best friend, or it can be our worst adversary. And an untrained mind, like Jasleen Kaur mentioned, is like, the analogy of the dog, the stray dog, is an untrained mind. It is in constant turmoil. But those who command their own mind, and those who command their own mind know consciousness. And those who know consciousness live in awareness. And they experience the vastness which is so beautifully revealed in Asakibar. But it takes courage, it takes commitment to learn to control the mind. I mean, it's definitely work. And this has been reinforced, for me at least, in the 3 Shabads of Guru Teghbahadar Sahib in Rag Devgandhari. And that's why, I chose those 3, or they chose me. It's not, you never choose anything. It comes to you. And if I may, I'd like to walk you through those 3 Shabads, my learnings of them, and then maybe we can, discuss them. But I've asked the organizers, to put the transcreations in the chat so that people can look at them, and I'm not, so that they can enjoy them. So if that can happen, that would be great. So in the first Shabad is Ye man nek na kahiyo kahe. The Guru Sahib describes the nature of the mind by invoking his mind. It's a beautiful poetic way of when you want to impart something of great substance, which is sensitive and which is like, really listen to this. You want to soften it. So you say, oh mind, listen. Or you say, in poetry, you say, oh my heart, will you do this? Can you look at this? Or, oh my eyes, what are you here to see and what are you seeing? So it's a very gentle way, which Jasleen Kaur has also mentioned in Guru Teghbahadar Sahib's Bani. So the Guru invokes his mind to explain to us in a gentle way that this mind is refusing to listen to anything. I have been giving it instructions, but it's not listening. It is as if this mind has become tainted and is intoxicated with this razzle-dazzle of the world. And a different way of thinking has entered. The different way is durmat. So this is that different way of thinking has entered. So how can when this different way of thinking has entered, how can the mind even remember to sing the virtues of the divine or even to think about goodness? Because a different way has entered. And the Guru elaborates, deception has also entered. And the mind has become devious. And the only thing it is really thinking about is its increasing its own worth. So the Guru equates the mind to a dog's tail that doesn't straighten, implying how can the mind listen intently to anything because it has become devious. And in the last line, the Guru instructs the mind in no uncertain terms, Kaho Nanak, Bhaj Ram Naam, Nit, Jate Kaj Sare. So remember incessantly, intently, the Naam, and I've used the translation Charma Divine for Ram, by which life objective is realized. So the last line is, but your life objective is realized. You know, your previous speakers, Jasjit Kaur and Surrender Power, both said there is you have to have a personal connection. And when I looked at, when I was studying these, I know the Rahau is very important, and yes, it is very important. And I understand that at multiple levels, and Guru Sahib's Bani begins with the Rahau. But for me, it was really the last line of every Shabad was like crystal clear for me. This, Inni Kaur, is what you need to do. And I want to take you on that journey a bit. So I want to emphasize in the last line, it was life objective is realized. So if you want to go through for a seeker, what is it that you need to do? The life objective is realized. So in the first Shabad, the condition of the mind is laid out. We can give the mind all sorts of instructions, but it's not going to change. The illusion is so intoxicating and enticing that the mind has hardened. And to break this pattern, to soften the mind, it's by consciously remembering the divine virtues, the qualities, bhaj. Now, this word bhaj is very important because there's action here. It's not that you're going to sit there and it's going to happen. No, you got to do something about it. You got to take action. You know, we always say, Jado meher hoegi. And in a lot of Shabads, it's grace has to be there. But in these three Shabads, I truly found that this was, you got to do it. And you got to do it now. The grace, don't worry about the grace. You just got to get with the program. And the program is, you got to remember. So we move to the second Shabad, and here in the second Shabad, the Guru again invokes his mind, and then he lists the relatives, your close, the familiar relationships, and the wife. And these are your relationships where you have a dealing with, you know, you're close to them. However much close you are to them, these relationships, which are so important to you, but the Guru says, remember, the minute the breath leaves your body, what's going to happen? They're going to say, get this body out of here because you're a ghost, which is so true. And then the Guru invokes the heart. He says, now the heart is being asked to reflect on these temporary relationships. So look, there's a shift. And the Guru says, the heart says that these temporary relationships are like a mirage which the deer sees in the desert. It's running to get that water, that illusionary water. The minute it gets there, it's gone. It runs somewhere else to get it, and then somewhere else. And ultimately, it's exhausted. And that is our mind. We think this job will get us that, this car will get us that, this promotion will get us that. And we are constantly running, but it isn't that. So in this Shabad, what the Guru is using is, at least from my understanding, is the family and close relationships are being symbolized as mirages. These entangle us and they bring us pain. And I will address the question of attachment. This is not that. This is a different kind. It's because you're attached to them, you're bound to them. And the only way to rise is by freeing ourselves. It is not to say that you don't love, but it's to being attached to that love, considering it, this is mine, which the Guru speaks about in the third Shabad. So I don't want to, go ahead. And I want the Shabad to sink in what the Guru is really saying. And the only way to free ourselves is by remembering. And in the last line, the Guru instructs the mind is that remember the Naam, incessantly remember the Naam, for that will bring freedom. Jate hot udhar. So in the first Shabad, the last line was, the life objective is realized. In the second one, it is, this will bring freedom. So let's, build on that to see where this is going. And in this third Shabad, the Guru addresses us, the people, you and I. And the Guru articulates that he has seen that this love in this world is deceptive. Jagat mein jhoothi dekhi preet. I've seen that. And, we can think about it. The question arises, what love is the Guru referring to? And if we look at the earlier two Shabads and in this one, it is the love that is emanating from these closest relationships. Because everyone in these close relationships is really after their own comfort. Because you're here, I want to have this relationship with you because you're providing me something. You're making my life comfortable. You're giving me something. That's that attachment that Guru is talking about. If I could love you just because I love you, if I could love you just that, it would not be. But without that expectation that you're going to provide me with something, that is the love which Guru is talking about. That's why everyone's consciousness is constantly bound in that mind. What can I get from him? That's that bondage that is creating. And the Guru says, in the last breath, none of these are going to be with you. But look at this, the Guru is telling us, this is the astonishing norm, societal norm of society, of the way this life is. And yet, the mind, the ignorant mind doesn't understand this. What if the trained mind could understand this? So in the last line of the Shabad, the Guru declares the one who sings the divine songs. This frees oneself, which means they're no longer bound to this attachment. No longer are they beholden, and they cross the world ocean. So in the first Shabad, the last line was, life objective is realized. In the second, we went from, it comes freedom. And the third one was, we cross the world ocean. So the direction is so clear, which Guru is giving us. We need to sing, we need to remember, because it's a conscious and a physical action. When we sing, when we remember, we understand, and we try to imbibe those divine virtues. And when this deliberate action becomes a part of our being, it weakens this intoxication, and gradually one's journey can begin. So in a nutshell, this Shabad, I'm going on and on because I'm so excited about, it's so clear. It's like the path is so clear that why the mind refuses to listen. And there's also the revelation, how can the mind transcend and recognize its life's objective? And the Guru gives a reason for the separation. The separation is there because the mind is intoxicated and it's with all this illusion, and therefore every action that is being performed from this deception. And the way to transcend is through singing, through this willful, conscious remembrance and singing. At first, the singing is external and it is forced. And then eventually it moves within, it becomes internal, and it begins to resound on its own. And that is the mind transcending effortlessly into that next realm where things happen effortlessly and you move into different stages of your life journey. So that was the three Shabads.
No, so well said, and with such passion.
Wow.
And with such love. One of the things while you were speaking, you mentioned was about falsehoods. And the Guru also speaks about false love. What to you is not false love in the world?
So, when we put false love, I mean, so duty, they keep preet. I've seen that the preet in this world is false. So, because love cannot be false. So in that case, but I've seen that there's the so-called idea of love. So this love, which is false, is in bondage, which is there's a transaction in it. There is where score is being kept. So in a relationship, when you are able to see the divinity in each other, and when all your interactions flow from that place, that is when that is love. I want to categorically say that is love. When you see the divinity in each other, when your actions towards each other flow from that place. And that happens, that transpires when devotion enters your relationship. When that devotional element enters, you consider that relationship, that being, to be sacred. And there's a sacredness. And this sacredness, when this sacredness enters, all boundaries, you transcend all societal, each and every boundary you transcend. Because what you're experiencing is of a far greater nature. And you recognize fully well, there's a recognition that this experience would not have been possible without the other being. Because that's Sangat, right? In that Sad Sangat, in that eternal Sangat, you experience something far greater that you as an individual on your own could not do that. And that to me is eternal love, because it's based on that love of continuous, and it is rooted in something higher than just the physical. It is in the mind. It is when you can say in your relationship that saying, I love you, I adore you, feels small. There's something far greater. I do not have words to describe this relationship. And even then, when there is nothing that you want or nothing that you desire, there is still that desire. I only want to be there in your presence, to breathe the air that you are breathing. I want to be at your feet, just to serve you. When that enters that relationship, the individuals know that something very, rare is happening. It's not impossible, it's rare. And therefore, the two or the three, or whatever it is, they do anything and everything possible to honor that relationship. It's beyond right, beyond wrong. Their lives are field, and that's where you meet. We can talk about this, that it doesn't happen, and I can share something. With my relationship with my mother. She was my mother, and she will always be my mother. But at the end, our relationship transcended. While she was my mother, she was also my spiritual companion. And when she left this earthly realm, yes, there was pain. But in that pain, there was an immense gratitude. And if I can say, there was a rejoicing, because my mother's deepest wish was fulfilled the way she left. And I, as her satsangi, rejoiced that for her. I, as a child, was sad, but I, as her satsangi, said, I also want that. Like the way my mother left this earth, and like the way Guru fulfilled her wish, may Guru do that for me. So the relationship, when we talk about transcendence, when we talk about what Guru is revealing to us about attachment, it cannot be, it can definitely be, because I've had glimpses of it.
One of the things that you brought on is remembrance.
Simran.
And your feelings have shown through that remembrance is our path to love with the Guru. And obviously, the irony in this discussion for me, lesson, is how it all weaves through. The last two panel members mentioned forgetfulness as their away from the Guru. You tie that together, it's very easy. Forgetfulness takes us away and leads us astray. Remembrance leads us to the path of the Guru. The other, during that path of remembrance, one of the other words you mentioned was gratitude. Mm. If you could speak a little bit, Inni Kaur ji, about gratitude for both the Guru and the Bani, especially in these three Shabads, that would be great.
So, we talk about remembrance, like why remember? Because I get this question asked a lot, when I'm out with, particularly, I remember this question was asked of me when I was speaking at the Bhai Vir Singh Southern. One of the young men asked me, do you think Guru is very greedy? And I'm saying, okay, help me through this. I said, no, I don't think so. I said, but I would love to know why you are thinking that, because, no question is a silly question. It is obviously there's something on this young man's mind. And he said, well, the Guru is always asking us to praise Guru. And that's, we've been talking about praise throughout this entire, sing the virtue, sing that. And I said, it isn't about that. It is, yes, it is so that we can remember our divine qualities, is to really, Simran, is to feel that presence so that it prevents us. It is that shawl. It is our protection. So we don't go towards something which is unkind. Because when we feel the presence, and that's when we encounter the source. That is when we encounter the beautiful. And remembrance and Simran really is the glorification of life. This is where you can appreciate the physical attributes and the beauty of life. And if I may say so and be so bold, you can also experience the metaphysical. And from Simran, through Simran, with Simran, a universal being emerges, a being that accepts pain and pleasure, praise and criticism, family and adversary, wealth and the absence of wealth in the same manner. The only distinction for this being, for this transcendent being, is between the transient and the eternal. And Guru Teghbahadar Sahib's compositions, all of them, really strengthen the individual so that they can experience their full human potential while living in this world. And this is transcendence. This is liberation and the ultimate freedom. And you talk about shukrana. It comes from that. It's when you are filled. That's the thing that comes out. Because there is nothing else but shukr. Inni mehr hui hai ki I cannot even begin to tell you. I mean, Jasjit ji, you spoke so movingly in the beginning when you introduced Harinder Singh that, his inspiration or Guru Meher, your journey. And I can relate to that because that's been my journey too. I categorically say I was a dry twig by the wayside. Nobody cared. Nobody even bothered to look. And this twig thought also knew was totally unworthy. And somehow, I have no idea how, grace. And this grace is continuing, but the grace was with this one line. Man tu jyot saroop hai, apna mool pehchan. And it was like, am I being told that I have a spark of divine light? that I'm worthy. And that was the turning point. So how can someone who has given you life, and you talk about gratitude to Guru and Bani, and someone who has given you that life, that sense of being, that you are worthy, how the gratitude just flows. There's nothing, nobody can do that for you. And when you talk about, Bani for me is very real. It's not abstract. It is honestly when it's like tip tip verse amrit tara. It is that stream of nectar which is constantly flowing, drip by drip, and enriching you. And it is that beauty. And the Guru says, these are the, in the Guru Granth Sahib, these are the revelations of the 35, 37 contributors. These are their experiences. And I'm saying, Guru, honestly, you got me because I want to experience those. So I'm really with you right now.
What a great, real, like a true expression of remembrance, of Simran, of gratitude, and how that came into your life. I think for all of us who are on this discussion today, and for all of us who are hearing it, I think that's what we're all looking for. And you provided us, all the speakers today so far have provided us a pathway to be on the remembrance and gratitude side and away from the forgetfulness side. I think that's just as you saw Bhai Vir Singh as a guide, all of us look at these kind of lessons that we'll take away from today as guides for our future. So thank you for sharing that because it came from really your soul. And that is the other aspect that comes to mind today, and that is we've spoken a lot about the physical attributes and challenges of Guru Teghbahadar Sahib. We've spoken a lot about the emotional challenges that he faced, family, community, as well as larger level, and now also about the soul at the spiritual level. And in Punjabi, we rohaniyat. And that's what we're all seeking, is spiritual connection to Guru Sahib, to Akal Purkh. And that's what you've just shown us, how that can be achieved. I really appreciate it. Is there anything else, Inni Kaur ji, you'd like to share with the audience today about remembrance, about Simran, or about your own search for those?
In your earlier discussion with Jasjit Kaur and Surendra, there was a mention that you spoke a lot about virag. And we also say the Bani of Guru Teghbahadar Sahib is virag, and but Bani general is mostly that the theme of virag is very much there. But before virag, there is another stage. Virag is an intense longing. One cannot get to virag if one doesn't have birha. Birha is separation. It is when you feel that there is a sense of separation, that there is something missing in your life. It is then you begin this quest, that what is it that I am missing? That it is. So, to talk about virag without the birha, we cannot make that connection. And when that longing is so intense, when that birha, that sense of separation is so intense, that will lead you to the longing, because that separation and longing, there will be something that will guide you to take the next part. Your focus is only on getting that. What is it that I am missing? And for me, if I may, because you have invoked, it was, if life was just eating, drinking, and procreating, this life was not worth living. There had to be something more. And what was that more? What was it that I am seeking? What was it that I'm missing? And that began that journey of looking, searching, and I would say walked down many paths, but the head fell here. The head fell here.
That's so interesting because you brought us back to where we started, forgetfulness. And that separation caused by forgetfulness is actually the root of our beginning to coming for the Guru.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji
Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
You were listening to SikhCast by Sikh Research Institute, illuminating every path.